All right, so I got a DM from Dry Apologist on Rhett and Link's deconversion. And he posted a video on it, and he basically said, we chatted about it a little in DM, and he basically said that he credits them with more integrity than I do. Now, I might have exaggerated for effect in my video. There are two big celebrity deconversions of late. And I'm using the term celebrity loosely, as in who, Rhett and Link of the Ear Biscuits and John Steingrad of Hawk Nelson. Yeah, really big, really big, important celebrities, Craig. Those are really big, important celebrities, Craig. Yeah, I'm sure they are. And basically three variations on nobody, kind of realistically speaking. If you're an atheist, bring it down to earth, guys. Why? These aren't really big gets. You didn't grab the big fish. John Steingrad from Hawk Nelson, I can't believe it. That's kind of like, you're all falling all over yourself because like the keyboardist from Kajagoogoo deconverted. The keyboardist from what? Who? Yeah, Kajagoogoo. You don't remember that? A big song in the 80s. No, I don't remember. Okay, now you understand how irrelevant it is. Those are three variations on nobody, guys. I'm sorry. Just reality check. They're not big celebrities in any meaningful sense of the term. If they hadn't had these big public deconversions, there's no way I'd ever know who any of them were. Just reality check. Apparently we claimed we got Brad Pitt. Yes, we got Brad Pitt of late. That's what I was told. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. He was converted. Converted. Back to Christianity. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hold your applause. Hold your applause. Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt? That's a big celebrity. Yeah, he's been in actual movies. And everybody knows who he is. Yeah, that's what a celebrity is. We also got Kanye West of late. Kanye West, that's a really big celebrity. Yeah, I know. That's one of the 3 or 4 biggest rappers of all time. Yeah, I know. A big celebrity. Everybody knows who he is. That's the definition of a word celebrity. Everybody knows. You hear the person's name and go, oh, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know who that is. Ah, yeah, Madonna. I know who that is. Hawk Nelson. Huh? It's just, just a reality check. It's not a big get. That's all. So take it back down to earth. Anywho, getting back to the issue at hand. So got two big celebrity deconversions of late. Hawk Nelson and Rhett and Link from Ear Biscuits. Now, Dry Apologist credits Rhett and Link with more integrity than I do. But I listened to his video. Okay, and it's right there in his choice of words. Rhett is the guy I object to the most. And I didn't even have to revisit. Yeah, I was a little harsh on them. Why? Because I really think they're vacuous, morally vacuous, intellectually vacuous, and I thought they were full of themselves. That's how I analyze them, and I kind of stand by it. I don't even have to revisit it. Why? It's all there in his choice of words. And just a little part that Dry Apologist cited. Just in his choice of words, he says, quote, what would I believe if I didn't have to believe this? Now that's a very interesting choice of words, is it not? It's not out of the mouth of a 15-year-old child. That's out of the mouth of a supposedly adult. What would I have to believe if I didn't have to believe this? Nobody's forcing an adult to believe anything. Ever. If it came out of the mouth of a 15-year-old who's, heavily embedded in a really hardcore fundamentalist tradition, then it makes some sense. Why? Because that's how they're experiencing reality. Then it has basic integrity to the statement. What would I believe if I didn't have to believe this? Why? Because your family, your friends, your church are all forcing you to believe something and you can't really go your own way because you're 15. He's not 15. Out of the mouth of an adult, it's a totally false statement. Just because he perceives it as such doesn't mean it is such. It's a very, very fake thing to say. And the fact that he seems to think it rings true to him doesn't make me credit him with any more integrity. If you're over the age of 25 and you are deceiving yourself, I'm not going to credit you with integrity, period. I'm going to recognize it immediately. Why? Your choice of words. Choice of word tells you everything you need to know. What would I believe if I didn't have to believe this? Nobody is forcing an adult to believe anything. If you don't think your church of order, the church that you're a part of, is right about something, you are free to go to a different church. If you don't think the Bible is right about something, you are free to be skeptical about that particular passage. Nobody is forcing an adult to think anything. And his choice of words is very revealing. It is preternaturally defensive. It is an internalized defensive posture against who? That's the question. Why? That needs to be explored. Now, Dry Apologist, I get where he's coming from. He thinks that the questions are valid. And I get it. Yeah, the questions are standard issue. Here's my questions about the Old Testament. They're pretty standard issue. They're not going to be, people aren't going to come up with any surprising new Old Testament questions. Pretty much par for the course. We all know which ones are coming and what they're going to say. You know, God, what did he say? Some variation, God commanded genocide. What would I believe if I didn't believe, I have to believe that God commanded, you know, in Samuel to kill. He basically, you know, see Schuyler Fiction debate, see Rhett and Link's deconversion, same thing. My point is, as an apologist, yes, we can try to answer some of these questions, but do not be deceived. That's my only thing. Recognize the falsity of pretending that these questions are groundbreakingly important. Just because Brett is pretending it to himself. See, when someone's over the age of 25 and I perceive them as deceiving themselves, I'm not going to say that they have integrity. They don't. They're perfectly capable of recognizing their own self-deception. He just refuses to. Why? Because he's ginning up an argument inside of himself. He is being preternaturally defensive against who or what and why is the real question. Not let's answer his fake objections. The objections are not, I'm not saying the objections are fake because those questions shouldn't be resolved by an apologist. I'm saying recognize that they have nothing to do with it. That's it. Be aware of that. The fact that Brett thinks they have a lot to do with it shouldn't matter. They don't. Be skeptical. Be skeptical of what is coming out of his mouth, why the tell is in his choice of words. A tell is a behavior that indicates a lot more than the person thinks it indicates. The choice of word tells you everything. I don't have to revisit them. There is a reason Brett and Link deconverted. It is not what they say it is. It isn't. Why? Because there are, see, atheists have convinced themselves to a certain degree. There are two ways of forming beliefs. There are two key ingredients of a belief. There may be others, but for the purposes of this video, there are two that we'll focus on. There's the logical predicate of your belief. Is it factually true, 2 + 2 = 4? And most atheists pretend that that's the sum total, that that's the whole ball game. That's the really important part, the logical predicate. That's what they always try to get you to fixate on. The logical predicate for your belief, and then there's the emotional resonance. The emotional resonance is the real story. Some of this is politics, some of this is politics, some of this is politics, some of this is politics. It is not what Brett is telling you. It is what he is not telling you. And what he is not telling you, he might not know. So I took an educated guess at what his actual reason for deconverting was. Not the crap coming out of his mouth. The crap coming out of his mouth is a smokescreen. And everything you need to know about it being a smokescreen is in the words, what would I believe if I didn't have to believe this? That's preternaturally defensive. That's a defensive posture. That doesn't make any sense coming out of the mouth of an adult. It's ginning up an argument. It's ginning up an argument. Yeah, he's ultimately might be arguing with himself. So, this is complicated, I understand, and some of you might already be kind of not quite processing this correctly. It's complicated. Start from the basics. There's the logical predicate of what you believe, the factual basis. Atheists tell themselves up and down that that's the sum total of beliefs. That's far less important to what people actually believe than the emotional resonance. The why is everything. Some of this is politics, some of this is politics. The why. Think of a flat earther. Throw logical predicate out the window. Why? Because it's not there. And then go, well, why on earth do they believe it? There's some payoff. There's some why. There's some emotionally satisfying reason for them to go with this that they aren't telling you. It is the same for Rhett and Link. There is something going on beneath the surface that they are not owning, that they are not copping to, that they are not telling you. Now, it's not quite as true of Hawk Nelson. Hawk Nelson is a lot more matter of fact, and I credit him with more basic integrity. Basically, his story is, the subtext is, I'm just not feeling it anymore, guys. And I accept that to some degree. I do think that he is talking about it as if it's the weather, and he has no ownership of it. And I think it started when he was 20 years old. Go read the Hawk Nelson deconversion. It'll take you 5 minutes. It's on Instagram. It's interesting up to a point. The Rhett and Link, I don't have to revisit them. Everything you need to know about them is right in that sentence. What would I believe if I don't have to believe this? That's preternaturally defensive. That's a defensive posture against this mysterious somebody who's forcing him to believe things. In him, it's probably the people who we grew up with, because that's ultimately what they project it all back onto, their core audience. And then they start going places that the atheists that I find most objectionable. Look, some of the questions are obvious. I'm not saying that you don't have questions. I'm not. And some of his questions are obvious, and yeah, they should be addressed by an apologist. What I'm saying is they aren't the reason he deconverted, and for him to pretend otherwise, that he doesn't see it, doesn't mean that we don't have to we can't see it clearly. It's not the reason he deconverted. Has almost nothing to do with it. And when somebody is doing a behavior that's a tell, let's just assume, if you're an atheist, listen to this. Take this with a grain of salt. Let's just assume for argument's sake that I'm telling you the truth and that God is real, okay? I know that's a big thing to just assume. Just for the sake of argument, so you can understand where I'm coming from. I know, it's not real. The sky fairy isn't real, Craig. Come on. All right, come on. I know. I'm deceiving myself about the sky fairy. Let's just say for argument's sake that I'm telling you the truth and God is real. Now, atheists hate when you psychoanalyze them, right? They hate it. They get really, really, really upset about it. All right, before I go into that, I empathize to some degree with some atheists, like really strongly empathize with them. And I know when people are talking to me with integrity. You take Apologist and you take Genetically Modified Skeptic, both of whom have appeared on my YouTube channel and gave me very long, very thorough deconversion stories. And not once do I think they were ever deceiving me or themselves. It all made sense to me. It all rang true, and I bought every minute of it. And I'm pretty sure neither one of them said Old Testament this and that. Pretty sure neither one of them did. Why? Because that would ring false immediately. It's not how people are wired. Just because some deconversion people believe that that's what brought them to deconversion doesn't mean it's true. It's not a motivating factor. It's not how people are actually motivated. Now, we can try to answer the questions. Just don't pretend like those questions were really important to their deconversion. Why? Because that's not going to help. Wasn't. Nobody forced Rhett or Link to believe anything at all. It's a perfectly logical place when you are a Christian, even a Christian in good standing in a church who never deconverts, to go, I'm not quite sure if I believe that God's going to, first of all, I don't believe necessarily that God is going to sentence all the Hindus to hell. Why? Because that doesn't quite make sense to me. Brett is saying it doesn't make sense to him, and it's why he deconverted. Have I deconverted? No. I don't particularly think that. I think either that's not interpreting the scripture correctly. I mean, it's just obvious why I don't think that. Why? Because it wouldn't be fair. So that's what he thinks. It wouldn't be fair. Okay, that's normal. That's the point. I understand the question. I've asked the question of myself. The question doesn't produce the deconversion. That's the part that's fake. The question is just a question. Who does wind up in heaven and who does wind up perishing? And yeah, there is some reason to believe some of the fundamentalist framing might be accurate because some of it is scripturally predicated. But then the scriptures also say other things. I get the question. And I get trying to answer the questions to some degree. What I don't buy for 1 second, and neither should you, is that they were instrumental in the person deconverting. Why? Because they're not. Now, I get it with Paul. Listen to Apologist and listen to Genetically Modified Skeptic, both of whom I credit highly with integrity, and both of whom explain their deconversions in some depth. You will hear, I empathize with them to the point where I can't promise you if I weren't raised in their type of really hardcore fundamentalist tradition, I would have disconnected to some degree. I would have deconverted a little. I might not have wound up, becoming an atheist and putting out videos. That's a little bit much, Craig. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone to that point. But I definitely would have gone some of the way to where they got. Now with them, it's a lot more organic. Why? Because in their tradition, there was a kind of a zero sum. You either believe every sentence of this or you deconvert. That's how it was being presented to them. So for them to see it to some degree that way makes sense to me. Rhett is doing that to himself. After 6, 7, 8, 9 years of not being a part of that church or those particular group of people, after a long time of not being a part of them. So he's projecting it all onto them. It's coming from him. It's all ginned up in his mind. It's not happening organically to him. See, to Drew and Apologia, it was happening organically to them. Also, Dr. Josh, listen to his deconversions on my channel too. Same idea. He was being told, if you don't believe X, you can't believe anything. He was being told that. So it makes some sense that they would come to that conclusion. Why? Because that's what was actually being pushed on them. If you don't believe X, you can't believe any of it. Brett is doing it to himself. In that context, it's totally fake. It's totally fake. He's doing it to himself. And then you got to ask yourself, if somebody is not giving me the real reason, then I'm going to take educated guesses. That's all that happened in my analysis of Brett and Link's deconversion. Why? Because there's another tell in there. The other tell is, it hurts us when you don't work really hard to understand beautiful, wonderful, sensitive us. They're the ones that use the word sellout, not me. I just latched onto it. Why? Because it rang true. It's a common story. Move out to LA. You start palling around with new people who really, really object to the old group. And they'll make no bones about telling you about it all the flipping time. I took an educated guess. I could be wrong. I sincerely doubt I am. He's not telling us the real reason. And everything you need to know about it, I'm not saying there aren't actual questions about theology in the Old Testament. I'm saying that the idea that they bring people to deconversion is ridiculous. Why? Because I've had those questions as a Christian. They don't make you struggle with your faith. That's completely false. You could be a really, really committed Christian and have some questions. I swear to God, you can. So the idea that those questions produced a deconversion is false. Recognize that before you start trying to answer the questions. Why? Because the questions aren't the reason for the deconversion. The reason for the deconversion is not being stated. That's my point. And I'm pretty sure I'm getting this 100% accurate. So heed what I'm saying. Why? Because I promise you I'm telling you the truth, and I promise you I'm getting at something really important. The question about the Old Testament is irrelevant to the deconversion. The fact that Brett made an 1.5-hour video hand-wringing over it makes me think that he's totally full of it. And then the other experience of, listen to his tone of voice. He's full of himself. That's what I get from him. He's full of himself. Shallow, vainglorious narcissist who's full of himself. I'm sure I get the same impression if I listen to an 1.5 hours of J-Lo talking about herself too. The difference is J-Lo isn't pinning it all back on me. He's going somewhere. And he's turning into something. And the something he's turning into isn't a cool atheist. Did you hear the atheist I mentioned? Apologist, genetically modified skeptic, objectively damned. These are cool people. These are decent people with integrity who happen to be atheists. I don't ever say that they're dishonest. There's something about him that's really, really fraught with dishonesty. There's something totally fake. Totally he's ginning up for effect because he wants to believe it himself. And he's going somewhere with it. And he's going to wind up one of these awful atheists. One of these morally vacuous, they ask, what sin is it that I want to commit? Try moral vanity. Moral vanity, intellectual vanity. What sins is it that are bringing me out of Christianity? Try moral vanity, intellectual vanity. Why? Because it's riddled. It's epidemic in the atheist community. He's going somewhere with it. His next step is to go, Christian, you guys, how could you worship a God who's commanding a genocide? Do you not hear that one coming? Because that one's coming. How could you worship a God who even does that? He's starting to think of himself as morally superior. Hear it clearly, because I'm getting it right. I swear to God, I'm getting it right. And I don't need to hear that much to perceive him accurately. I got his number. We know people like that on Twitter today. They've gone somewhere different with this. They say, I just don't believe you, Craig. But they've gone somewhere totally different, where they're now morally superior to me. I'm morally superior to you, Christians. How are you getting that one? Because I don't believe in a God who commands. He's becoming one of the terrible ones. For the same reason. Why? Because they have zero integrity. They're morally vacuous, intellectually vacuous. They say, I care about ideas. They don't. Don't be fooled. He doesn't care about ideas. I promise. He's becoming one of the awful atheists. Really easy for me to differentiate between the awful and the cool atheists. Why? It's not complicated. 3 sentences into a conversation. What? Because the fake ones are fake through and through. They try to pin something back on you. They try to gin something up for effect so they can believe something about themselves that isn't true. That's really what's going on. That's where he's going. I want to believe something about myself that I'm morally superior to everybody else. I read about the problems at the border and I cry inside. He's one of those. And he's becoming more and more one of them. And I don't mean atheists. Why? Because some of it's nothing to do with atheism per se. It's just more common in the atheist community. About half the atheists are these vainglorious, shallow, morally vacuous narcissists who are totally full of themselves and totally charged up with moral vanity. He's becoming one of those. And I hear it clearly. I promise you it's happening. And I promise you I'm telling you the truth. 2 years from now, he's going to be divorced and saying the same self-serving gobbledygook that he was saying in that hour and a half. Just because some of the questions are real doesn't mean they're real to him. That's the point. The questions are real. They don't force deconversions. They don't make you deconvert. They're just questions. That's it. He's ginning something up. I swear to God I'm telling the truth. I swear to God I'm getting at something real. So I'll listen to the, if you want to defend him, try Apologist, go for it. I think there's value in you defending them and then me doubling down on what I object to. Because I'm getting at something important. Maybe he's not the prime example of it. Maybe I'm overplaying my hand a little because I'm perceiving something in him that is endemic, that is epidemic out there. And it isn't necessarily atheism. It's this whole type of person that's being created by the media environment we live in. And it's the same type of human being he's becoming. And they're everywhere in LA. This morally vacuous, shallow, vapid, narcissistic, at the same time that they're completely J-Lo, they got no ethics, no values, no morals. They are completely charged up with self-righteousness and moral vanity. He's turning into that. His only hope into not becoming something that he thoroughly detests is Christianity. Why? Because the world will drag him into that. It's where he's going. That's how I see it. Yeah, fine, I might have, fine, you overplayed your hand, Grant. You overdid it. Fine, I overdid it, whatever. Early in the morning, got the fires going. Early in the morning, everyone got my fires going. So I start thinking about him and I know what he's becoming. I can tell. And the tell is in his tone of voice and this framing. What would I believe if I didn't have to believe this? You don't have to believe anything. You're an adult. Those questions are questions that can be asked of somebody who never even thinks of deconverting. How interesting. I've had some of those same questions. The difference is I don't ask those questions, oh, I must be such a good person that I think this. And other Christians don't see it. Why? Because they're so bad. They're so not moral like me. That's what he's doing. It's what he's doing. I promise I can hear his inner voice. How can I hear it? Because it's common. It's a common voice out there. Go look at some of the debates with the atheists. It's what they start saying to the Christian. I'm better than you. I'm morally superior to you because I can recognize that this is wrong of God to have done this and you don't seem to be able to. It's totally fake by people who should know better. Sorry, there's something real here that I'm getting. I promise. There's something real here that I'm getting. I promise. I'm onto something real. It's why I practically threw up when I listened to Brett. Why? Because I recognize it. I recognize what he's doing. And I'm pretty sure I'm reading it right. So, there you have it. Yeah, fine. Overdoing it. Whatever. Whatever. I'm Italian and German. I'm melodramatic and intense. That's how I roll. You're overdoing it, Craig. I don't care. I hate him. I hate Brett. Brett or Rhett. I don't remember. Which one am I supposed to call him? Jay. I got another DM. His name is actually Rhett. Or Brett. I don't remember which one. It's either Rhett or Brett. I don't know. I don't care. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him so much. All right. Whatever. Fine. I swear to God I'm onto something real. Now, I'll go over this again with different people. There's something real here. There is something going on in the deconversion process that is not being vocalized. That doesn't mean it isn't the most important thing. Just because it's not being recognized by the person deconversion and it's not being talked about doesn't mean it isn't the most important thing. It's the real thing. The thing he's not saying is the real thing. So I took an educated guess at it. And I'm pretty sure my educated guess is 100 times more accurate than the blather coming out of his mouth. I'll know that for a fact. I'm not saying these questions aren't real. I'm saying they're not real to him. I don't buy it for a second. Be skeptical. Be skeptical of human beings. Be skeptical of what people say their motivations are. When you hear people open their mouth, be skeptical of what comes out of it. Why? Because that's where wisdom is born from. Self-awareness is not human beings like human psychology 101. Self-awareness is not the most prominent characteristic of most human beings. And a shallow, vapid narcissist like that, self-awareness is the last thing you're going to get out of him. All of his moral hand-wringing was fake. Every minute of it. Every minute of it was fake. So, there you have it, kids. That is all for now. Mass has ended. Go in peace. Amen. Yeah, Brett sucks. He sucks. Sorry. My analysis stands. Brett sucks. There you have it, kids. Mass has ended. Go in peace. Amen and amen. Brett sucks.